Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone.
Why is it doing it?
Good evening, everyone. Welcome.
No, go ahead. Go.
Welcome, everyone. Yes, we have a good one for you this evening. We have a wonderful guest. You know, we're definitely going to be elevated today, and it's this wonderful and this impactful topic. This wonderful
Something's going on here.
This impactful topic.
Give us a second. I'm not sure what's going on here with the audio. Give us a second. I'm not sure what's going on with the audio.
All right, peace. I'm on mute.
Just keep going.
All right, I'm good. All right, peace. I'm still getting the feedback.
I'm not sure.
Are you getting it on my end?
All right, I'm good. All right, peace. Still getting the feedback.
I'm not sure what's going on here.
All right, I'm good.
Oh, goodness.
All right, peace. All right. All right, peace, everyone.
No, try it.
You want to do?
No, just talk.
Peace, everyone. Peace, everyone. All right. We have a wonderful topic for you today. We want to welcome everyone to the Moroccan Post on Crumb TV. I want to give a shout out to our brother Crumb for opening up this platform to the Moroccan Post. And we'll say before we have a wonderful guest for you today. We have Sister YeSharon.
YeSharon.
Akasha Il Rose Bay. The topic she'll be discussing the importance of alleviating the mental chains of the artificial birthright stealing and nature destroying patriarchal system forced on the society. Right, so we're going to. I have this book, Cosmic Mother, Rediscovering the Religion of the Earth. I've had this book for 27 years. You see a little beat up. All right. The Great Cosmic Mother, Rediscovering the Religion of the Earth. All right. Monica Jewing, and Barbara Moore. All right. I highly recommend this book. All right. The Great Cosmic Mother, Rediscovering the Religion of the Earth. They write on this classic exploration of the goddess through time and throughout the world draws on religious, cultural, and archaeological sources to recreate the goddess religion that is humanity's heritage. Now, with a new introduction and four colorful color artwork, this passionate and important text shows even more clearly that the religion of the goddess, which is tied to the cycles of woman's body, the seasons, the phases of the moon, and the fertility of the earth, was the original religion of all humanity. All right, we're going to bring our guest on. And the fertility. We're going to bring our guest on.
Should be coming through.
All right, welcome to Miraculous Post on Come TV. Sister YeSharon, Akasha Rose Bay. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for accepting the invitation to come on the Miraculous Post on Come TV. We have a very impactful, exciting title. All right. And we definitely want to we address. I read from the Great Cosmic Mother, Rediscovering the Religion of the Earth, and in there it talks about how the original religion of the Earth is tied to the cycles of woman, how it ties to the cycles of woman's body, the seasons, the phases of the moon, and the fertility of the earth. Now, most women are not aware of that. Most women are not aware of that. Let's go into why do you think most women are not aware that the original religion of the earth is tied to their actual cycles of their body? The phases of the seasons. Most women are not aware, and also men are not aware of the divine power of woman. So get into that. Talk about the divine power of woman and why women are not aware of their divine power.
Well, one thing that I want to say is thank you. Thank you for the platform. Thank you for creating this platform for Moors to be more connected and information to be out there for the women to regain the power that they lost, that was stolen, that they subjected themselves to as it relates to colonialism. Why do women defer their power to colonialism? Because we got to understand that there was a time where we were the true builders of civilization, and everybody knew this. Now, why are we in the current situation that we're in? Well, we know that it's because of colonialism. We know that we've been subjected through, I wouldn't necessarily say losing a war, but subjecting ourselves to a jurisdiction in a government that is outside of fundamental matriarchal principles. And it goes back, if you go to the Arakan's Confederacy, if you go to the original contract and original constitution, that original constitution on this landmass, Northwest of Maxim, was a matriarch. It was all the women of the villages who were the heads of state, let's call it that, heads of state. But now we have been subjugated because of colonialism within and upon our lands, and we've allowed ourselves to go to sleep. Let's just say what it is. We allowed ourselves to go to sleep, and through trauma, through oppression, through violence, through murder, as well as through our own responsibility in it, we've allowed the matriarchal, let's say matriarchal man's rule to supersede us. But if you look at the world,
you mean the patriarchal? You mean that we allowed the patriarchal?
Yes, we allowed the patriarch. We took a backseat to our sons. We took a backseat to the Moroccan sons, the Moors, the people who are the original inhabitants of this landmass. We were never Negro colored, Black, African American, Afro American. We were never, those things never were titles that we were so willingly and eager to accept. And that alone shows you just how far off of patriarch. Not patriarch. I keep flipping the words. Matriarch society, because where do people come from? Where do children come? How do they get on this earth plane? They come through mother. Mother is the first schoolhouse. Mother is the first teacher. And as soon as she's born, she is also the head of household. But isn't that different today? Isn't it different? Whereas though women are not necessarily the mother or the heads of the households, but if you look at nature's law, and if you look at all of the divine historical readings in historical history, it shows you just how much the world before colonialism wars was ruled, and the women were honored, as well as we honored our own menstrual cycles and our own cycles. As Abdullah was reading earlier, the moon cycles. If you have ever really tried to do any research as it relates to your wombs, and I wouldn't say womb as it's some injured piece of your body, it is a womb, which is how you create life on this plane. So how can you be subjecting yourself to a patriarchal society when you create life? Life comes from you. So why did we, colonialism, going to say is why we did it, start allowing sons, males, men to dictate how our societies, our communities, our tribes, as well as our nations and states are to be run. Now we allow foreigners, as well as, I'm just going to say foreigners, to dictate what we do with our body as it relates to wellness. We defer to colonialism in every aspect of our lives. And we can see that as it relates to whenever we get sick, where do we go? Whenever we need to get taught or educated, where do we go? Whenever we want to be entertained, where do we go? And that's a question that we need to start asking ourselves. Where do we go as it relates to where we were? In regards to, like, people today don't know what's wrong with them. They look at their menstrual cycle as a curse. And where did they get that thought process that the womb and the birthing process, as well as the cleansing and the purification process as it relates to menstruation, is like some traumatic event? Because we've lost so much of our culture to the point where we've deferred all of our woman energy, our matriarchal energy. And because of us not being the true stewards and nurturers of the planet and of our own selves and in our own communities, we can look outside windows and just see just how devastating the world has become, because we have taken a back seat to patriarchy. You wanted to say something, Abdullah?
Yes, those are wonderful points, and really, really poignant points, so that we can actually elevate not only the women's mind, but the men's mind. The men's mind have to be elevated as well.
Absolutely.
You see this you talk about the patriarchy and how proliferated it has become in suppressing the matriarchy, because you have the ancient women's statues were plenty worldwide. This in the book, the Great Cosmic, not the Merlin Stern's book, How God Was a Woman. Have you read that book? How God was
I have not read that.
Was a woman. When God Was a Woman by Merlin Stern. When God
has
was a woman.
never stopped being a woman. That's the crazy part.
Exactly.
Because only a woman can create. And if we look at the earth, right? Not to cut your wisdom.
No, that's an excellent point. That's an excellent point, because what you're doing is you are correcting the title, because that's her title. When God Was a Woman, it's her title. So you're doing is you're analyzing that title and say, hey, Abdullah, we never stopped being women. That's a great way to expand on that.
Because without a woman, everything ceased to exist. And I think because we have allowed not only patriarchy, but colonialism to dictate every movement we make now, instead of doing and commanding and, running and ruling our households, and our households aren't just this 4x4 building that we domicile in. It is literally our communities. It's literally this planet. It's literally this continent. And we've deferred it to not only men, because even though we want to sit here and blame everybody else for our problems as women, one thing that one of the scholars always used to say, as women complain about men, right? Because and even I am guilty of complaining about our sons in regards to the current state of things and them not realizing what their responsibilities are, which is to secure, protect, defend. Secure, protect, defend. That is our son's responsibility. But how can they honor or do that if the women have not given them the culture, the knowledge, and the wherewithal in order to execute those commands that they are under, regardless of how they were born? You're subject to the law, nature's law, no matter if you accept it or not. No matter if you think the menstruation and the period bleeding every month is a curse. It's not a curse. It's your body cleansing all the impurities that you put in it, either through oral consumption, breathing through the nose, or what you think mentally about yourself and each other. It has to come out some way, and it's coming through your menstruation. So as we elevate as women and we take the rightful place as the stewards, the true stewards of the planet, which is also a mother, which is also a woman, because it produces. The earth produces what you need to survive. So we have a relationship, both mother and earth, and anything that she creates upon the earth, we have a responsibility to do what is necessary, to do what is right. Now, because of colonialism, as well as because of male patriarchal dogmatic religions, women have been allowing men to take their power, to take their creation, like even with the creation of children. One thing you can never dispute is where a child comes from as it relates to her mother, because she gave birth to that child. A father can be negotiated and sometimes denied and sometimes ignored and lied about, but the mother, you'll never, ever be able to say to say that I am not my children's mother, because I gave birth to them and I have proof they exist and they came out of my womb. I have absolute proof and DNA and blood proof to prove that. So the point I'm trying to make to everybody is that women have deferred their power to men, and men have accepted it to the detriment of them. And I'm going to roll back over, because when I said, there was a scholar that said, if you want better men, make better sons. If you want better men, make better sons. And that is the absolute truth. You can't expect a man to be able to provide, secure, and defend and supply. Oh goodness. Defend, secure, and you can't expect him to do these things if you haven't given them the tools to do it. So today's society, the way a lot of mothers, as well as a lot of consorts with today, you might want to call them wives, which is a very derogatory term that I say you get out of your vernacular as it relates to, I want you to come in here and bring money in this house. I want you to come in here and be able to provide for me, as well as the children that I've created for you. Like a lot of women say, they create children for men. No, you don't. You never created children for men. You created children to survive. You created children because it was the number one responsibility every woman on the planet who chooses, because you can choose to do it as well as you can choose not to do it. And for some women, that choice is not up to them. So we have to stop deferring our power to men, and men have to stop accepting it and allowing women to give their power away. One of the beautiful things I love about our sons is that they can have the same relationships, the same friends that they've had when they were in high school, junior high, and elementary school. Why is it different for women? Why do women not honor motherhood, the matriarch, as well as that whole woman institution that started all types of governmental activity? We created all governmental functions today. And if you look at every nation and you look at even corporate municipal buildings, they are all run by women. What are the sons doing? What are the men doing? Securing, defending, protecting that government that the mother laid down. Islam, any interjections?
Oh, good point there. Now, let's look at. Have you read the Haudenosaunee Constitution? Because this ties to the point. This ties to the point.
That's the Constitution I'm referring to, the Great Law of Peace, right?
Great Law of Peace, Article 51 to 57, I believe, outline in that Constitution. It lays out the matriarchal principles. So that Constitution protects an ancient system of matrilineal and matriarchal principles.
Absolutely.
Now, it is said, YeSharon, and I disagree when people make this comment, because those that the United States Constitution is patterned after the Haudenosaunee Constitution. No, it's not.
Well, go ahead. I was just going to say.
You say why I'm saying no, it's not. I'm making a claim that it's not. All right. Anyone? All right. If anyone reads it, I'm saying no, it's not, because I go to the United States Constitution. You say, I don't see the matrilineal and matriarchal principles preserved in the United States Constitution. And that is the major. I mean, that is the major, because that is the foundation upon which civilization is built. So if the matrilineal, that's a system of governance. The matrilineal meaning that rulership, titles, is passed down to the motherline. I do not see that in the United States Constitution.
And so, this is why, because
remember the claim is that the United States Constitution is patterned after the Haudenosaunee Constitution. I'm making it. My claim is that it's not.
Okay. Now, if I go to records, right, and as a supreme judiciary of an actual government, the Moorish National Republic Federal Government, Northeast and Mexican Territories and Dominions, we've extensively gone over that, the Great Law of Peace and the Constitution for the United States of America, Republic, not the corporate, the Republic. Now, this is how we flip, right? We flip from matriarchal to patriarchal. So even though it may have a template based on matriarchal, they flipped it and made it patriarchal. So they do, if you kind of go a little deeper and just look at the different levels of departments and how they're laid out and how the laws are executed. Now, they're not using the same names within the, Great Law of Peace, but they're using the same framework of it. And all they did was change it from a matriarchal to a patriarchal as it relates to how so-called executive positions of leadership are handed down. Now you have the people, supposedly the people voting those administrators in on the corporate side as it relates to that contract, that commercial contract, not government, a commercial contract. You have those levels that are mimicking the Great Law of Peace. The only difference is they flipped it from a matriarchal, where everything was decided through the woman of the house or the chief clansman. And we used to use clan, so get out your feelings. Clans is not a derogatory or any negative term. It's something that we used. I was like in our culture, but that's how it was there. Now on the flip side, all they did was take mother out. They literally took mother and having to ask permission from mother in order to execute those laws. So they went and they did turn it patriarchal, but it was based on that original Great Law of Peace, because they needed to know how to function as a government, because they never had that. They were slaves under the rule of Great Britain, if we talk about the Albions.
All right.
So it is based on that, and it actually says it in the law, and they actually in the so-called United States statutes, it actually says it can't cite the actual code today and right now. Actually gave honor to the Great Law of Peace, and the tribes that that created and established that Great Law of Peace. They gave them honors because they needed some type of framework on how to create an organized government because they were coming from lawlessness.
Right now, when a body of people remove the essence,
right, it's not the same.
By which birthright, inheritance, title is passed down, and that is removed, you're stealing the birthright.
Absolutely. But you got to also understand that they didn't have land or land rights here. They needed that corporate contract, and they needed to have established one based on what? The Emperor of Morocco saying that they needed, if they wanted to expatriate from Great Britain and they wanted to be their own independent nation under commerce to rival any other nation, they had to create all of that. And they just used the Great Law of Peace in order to at least get a frame on how it was supposed to happen. And of course, they're going to give us acknowledgement, but at the same time, not because they honor or acknowledge us, but because they just wanted to get a foothold in so they could take advantage and colonize our land. And we gave them the opportunity to do that.
When I'm looking at that, there are other articles in that Haudenosaunee Constitution.
It's a lot of them. It's about 100 and something.
The major one are the ones that deal with the matrilineal principles. The other ones are minor. The matrilineal principle is the ancient principle of civilization that proliferated the world. And that's how the inheritance titles is passed down. If that is removed,
absolutely,
nothing else matters.
But you know why they removed it? Because they don't have bloodlines, because they didn't come from a stargate of an indigenous woman on this planet. So we already know they can't take the Great Law of Peace and use it in its entirety because, well, they don't have no bloodline or birthright. They would have to be adopted in, and even if they got adopted in, they still wouldn't have land rights. So they had to remove the woman out in order to claim the land.
I'm emphasized because this is the crux of this presentation. You know, the patriarch.
And we allowed it to happen, and we allowed it to happen because we gave them
I'm not disputing whether we allowed them to have it. My claim once again is the claim is the United States Constitution came from the Haudenosaunee Constitution. I refute that. I'm reviewing that claim based on major principles. The major articles in that Constitution that preserves wealth, titles, inheritance, land.
It was removed.
If those articles are removed, you destroy their whole society, because that is that ancient principle is upon which ancient civilization and societies were built and preserved. So you have a document that says, well, this Constitution came from that Haudenosaunee Constitution. I say no, it did not, because you have the other articles are minor. Those other articles are minor compared to the major ancient principle upon which sovereignty is based. Sovereignty is based in woman. Yes. Sovereignty is based in woman. If you suppress that, you have destroyed the ancient principles upon which government, civilization, inheritance, is protected, reserved, and handed down.
Absolutely.
I'm making major point. It
Absolutely,
is
Abdullah. But you know why they did it? They did it to steal the land because they don't have land rights. They wouldn't be able to take us into any Moroccan court and say, "Oh, I want to evict YeSharon off of her property because she didn't pay her mortgage." Their whole commercial contract was based on us. And the reality is, why did we allow them to create that constitution that was so what's the word? What's the word I'm looking for? That was so disgraceful and disrespectful for the heirs. Why did we do that? Why did we sign on and give our sons the authority to establish that independence outside of the matriarchal government? Because we had to have sanctioned it. We had to give them the power to do it. Our sons.
all right, and definitely because that's part of the we have a hand. We have a hand.
We have a bigger hand.
We have a.
They got that patriarchal, but understand they got that patriarchal society from our sons and mothers who deferred it to their sons. So it's not like they came out, they didn't create nothing here that wasn't already established already before them. So we got to take the good and the bad and the ugly. We got to take it all because we allowed it. We sanctioned it, regardless of if it was under duress. And then when we gave them that ability, what happened? They denationalized us, right? Literally after. I don't even think it was after. So if the so-called Moorish Science Temple of America says the Moors lost their nationality in 1774. Well, we're talking the Constitution came when? When was the top Constitution ratified? That joint was ratified in 1789, 1791. How we lose our nationality before that? So wasn't there some type of under threat, duress, or coercion that we established the Constitution for the United States of America because we didn't want to die? Has to be something like that to have gotten us in the position to have given that authority, right?
Well, we were denationalized a couple hundred years before.
Okay,
So
well, based on the Moorish Science Temple of America, that's the date they go on by.
That's based on Moorish Science Temple of America. All right, based on documentary evidence. All right, 1563. In 1563, and people, I don't want people to say Abdullah said. I don't want people to say Abdullah said.
You gotta validate that. If we lost our nationality way back then, we got
Fill up the second. Look at the Spanish Bulla. The Spanish Bulla of the 1563. Spanish Bulla of Philip II, 1563. And then that Spanish Bulla, edict from the king, Philip II.
You said Philip II?
Philip II classified, put Moors under, it's called the Inquisition against the Moors, and known to the general public as the Spanish Inquisition.
Oh, okay, I remember that.
And part of the reason why Philip II denationalized the Moors, classifying the Moors as Spanish in 1563, was to remove the protection of the Treaty of Granada, November 25th, 1491. Abu Muhammad surrendered Granada, the last Moorish stronghold, to Queen Isabella and King Ferdinand. But in that treaty, it protects Moorish personal rights to property. Doesn't say Spanish, Moors. So 60 something years later, Philip II, to remove the protection of that Treaty of Granada, classified the Moors as Spanish, subjugating the Moors to Spanish rule, forbidding the Moors to wear their turban and fezzes and use their names. The children were taken away from the parents and forced to learn Latin. Latin was forced on our children. The priesthood taught our children Latin. We spoke Arabic.
This is on this landmass? Or is this over there in
no, well, as well as here, this landmass, as well as in Phoenicia, modern day Europe.
Yeah, I thought it was more Europe than here.
Yes.
I
The
think
Inquisition
that's
is
where it
major.
started.
That is major. So the first stage of the mass denationalization of the Moors
Mhm.
began in 1563. Philip II, the
And that was
king,
when
the president of Philip, the former president of quote unquote Philippines.
But what didn't he only that was only because they lost the war. They lost the war, so obviously they're gonna make they lost the war. The Moors lost the war, and he had to do what he had to do because he didn't want to die, right?
No,
So
no, the former recently, the former president about 2 years ago, the former president Duarte, he's not the president now. The president of Philippines, the former president, he was standing. He had 4 women behind him, and he made a speech.
I remember that.
That Filipino is named after their Christian conqueror, King Philip. That they are, in fact, morals.
Mm-hmm.
That is part of what I'm talking about. Filipino represents a denationalization. Yeah. Dominican, Nicaraguan, Costa Rica, they're Moors. They're not Dominican. They're not. That is a continuation.
Right, because you have to take the names from the conquered people, so they can't have no land rights, and none of the original treaties would survive. Because if you're not claiming your indigenous status and your nationality, you don't got no bloodline birthrights. You ain't even got a bloodline for real.
No claim.
So that's why nationality is so important, because that brings you back to treaty rights, and treaty is the highest law in the land, right? And all of those so-called actions are under threat, duress, and coercion. So none of those contracts can stand on their own at going up against a treaty, which is why we have to, as mothers, as matriarchs, stop deferring our power away and trying to act like we're so defenseless, because the streets don't say that. The Asiatic woman is very, very, very hostile. The Asiatic woman is very, very, very violent when she needs to be. So we need to come back to ourselves in our communities, because the realities are our communities are suffering. Our children are suffering. Our clans are suffering. And we are the common denominator in all of those things. And the sons have to help that. And they help that by allowing the mothers to regain and establish control, and helping her do that. And I'm seeing that across the board, where sons are the initiators for nationality today, yesterday, 10 years ago. The first person that is coming, the first natural living being that's coming to nationality is the sons, and the women are coming because the sons are here, not the other way around. And that in and of itself is how you can prove the sons are helping mothers come back, because they need you to come back. Mothers, your sons are begging you to come back to the nation, because they don't have authority without you. For real. They can't fix this. They didn't break it. We did, because we were never supposed to see complete power and complete control. And when there was a time where colonialism made that impossible to do, because of a lot of the violence that we were being subjected to. But realities is, when you look at all these so-called claims of slavery, you got like 10 pictures, Moors. It's 10 pictures that they're using to socially as well as psychologically put you in a state of mind, thinking that we all were getting our butts beat during those times. No, we weren't. They beat us through social engineering and ignorance. They got us to stop believing in ourselves, as well as there were communities that were getting destroyed. And because we didn't want to get destroyed, we was playing along.
Absolutely.
The churches, through the synagogues, through the temples, pushing our people, taking what was essentially spiritually necessary for us to get through that time period. Now you're using it as a weapon against us. And I'm talking about the Christians out there. I'm talking about the Muslims out there that want to sit here and use this dogmatic religion under suppression, because those two religions suppress and oppress women. And I've been on multiple calls where I had to get the sons to realize you are part of the problem. It's a new day now. We are in the age of what, Aquarius? It's time for you to come back to yourself. It's time for you to allow these mothers to grow, to learn. And sometimes the women are not coming easily. They're not coming easily at all. I'm just going to be honest with you. They're coming as beggars. They're coming as just so painful and so broken and so afflicted, because it is more against more, black man against black man. And the people that are sitting by watching the fight, the infighting, and that's all they've ever done is watch the infighting and claim the booty and the prize once it's done. Because we can't get ourselves together. We can't sit here and come together for the right reasons. It's about intent. You got to get your minds right, Moors. You got to read that Holy Circle 7 Quran, because it's going to show you. It's going to show you the negative energy that we put out because of how we feel about ourselves. And Prophet Noble Drew Ali said, I came here to you, Moors, because you needed me the most. But what he came here to teach us is to love instead of hate.
Mm-hmm.
Our people hate themselves. No matter how much their cars are flashy, they got a pretty girl on their side. They got a big house. They got all these little things on the inside. You're dead. And you're unhappy. And and like a child, you're lashing out on each other. We have to defend, protect, and secure one another. That's not only a requirement of sons, it's also a requirement of mother. So we got to help both sons and mothers rebuild that matriarch. We've got to put positive images out there of women. And you know what? It's funny. You know when the end is near, and you know when they know they have lost. And I'm telling you, they have lost because of what you see. Pay attention to what you see and not what you hear a lot of times. Because the message, the brainwashing, whether for or against, is through social engineering. You wouldn't see all these Asiatics working the way they're working. They're everywhere now. There was only one place they used to be: service industry. And that could be shaking your butt for men and women. Or it could be cleaning toilets and different things like that. But you don't see that today, y'all. I keep telling y'all what's about to happen. What is happening? What is in the midst today? Now it's black person against more. Or even more against more. Because now they put you on TV. Now you got your own TV shows. Now, instead of seeing gang violence TV shows, now you see European Albion versions or Asiatic versions of Albion shows. They're throwing the kitchen sink to keep you distracted. Oh, we are making it. They're trying to give reparations to black people. They're trying to they're putting our people on all these social platforms, and they're everywhere. They know most of our people behave like animals because we've been beating each other up. I look in our communities. I look at the women there. I look at the men there. We getting beat up by our own selves. But then when one policy enforcer want to shoot somebody accidentally, now we mad. Well, what about the 20 Asiatic sons as well as little girls and boys that got shot down the street by our own people? What about them? What about controlling our own communities? What about not always looking for a handout, but coming together through nation building and commanding the things you already are entitled to because of Treaty of Peace and Friendship, as well as the other subsequent treaties that follow that, but support it? Told you, you ain't got nothing to fear but yourself, and the only thing stopping us is ourselves. Somebody gave me a acronym. It's called EASE. I ain't even gonna remember all of the. I would have to get my cell phone. It's called EASE.
Mm-hmm.
Ego. I'm gonna skip the A because I forgot what that one means. It's ego. Oh my good. Ego and emotions. Those are the top and the bottom. But I'm gonna go find the other parts of it because that is what is plaguing our people. Our people are getting some attention today. They don't know how to handle it, and they're not utilizing it to their benefit. Right? So the nuance is this. ego, arrogance, sensitivity, and emotion. Egos, arrogance, sensitivity, and emotions. We run that. And on the women's side, way more than the son's side. Well, the sons get it from the women, so it's on both sides now, right? That ego is big in our people. That ego is big. I have to take everything our sons do. That's the stealing, that's the robbing, that's the raping in our own communities. Well, why are they doing that? Because their mothers are sending them out there to do it. Don't come back home. Don't come back. You know, we have lost love for ourselves, so we're producing angry heirs. You tell them, go get a job. You tell them, go provide for your family. You tell them to do all these things, but you prepare them for none of them. And you're putting them in a system that don't want them to succeed, that has it in the blueprint for them to fail. And it starts in elementary school with the diagnosis of ADHD. There's many people who talk about that. You have a spirit inside of you, Morse, that don't like BS. Okay? So when you're in school, your mind is not being groomed or you're not being challenged. You're being dictated to and you're being subjugated in the schooling system. They're teaching you false history. They're not teaching you anything to be able to go out there and survive. And it's your mother sending you there, forcing you to go, forcing you to participate, forcing you to get good grades. Me too. Forcing all of that. And then when they get out, can they get a job? Only a small percentage at one point. So now you everywhere, right? They need those contracts. And it talks about what he was talking about earlier as it relates to birthright theft. And that's in regards to giving away your heirship, giving away your estate and being a debtor when you're the creditor, the secure party. And I'm not even going to go into UCCs because that I only talk about it because you need to know what's going on. I only teach about it because you need to know what they're doing to take from you. If you can't understand the UCCs, if you can't understand secure transactions, if you don't realize you have to get your grids done 1 through 9, and you have to start becoming that entrepreneur for your own people, that merchant that you used to be, they are in your place of. They're standing up the empire while we sitting around watching whatever we watching, doing whatever we're doing. We can't keep blaming Albions for all our problems, Morris. We are our own problem today. We are our own problem because we are scared. A lot of our people are scared through fear, false information appearing to be real, We're scared and fearful. Well, progression doesn't happen by you just praying for it. It doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen by prayer. It happens by action. How does that happen by action? Oh, let's take the Yahshua story. Not the Yahshua story. I'm sorry. The Moses story. Could the people be free without them actually fighting for it? Now, try to say that they just prayed and then the Messiah came and, everybody thinks that one person is going to come out the sky's going to open and just drop a person down and that person's going to teach you how to live, right? But they have to teach you, right? You have to learn, right? And after you get taught and learn, you got to do now. And sometimes you are going to get violated. Sometimes you are going to have to suffer some ramifications. We ain't been in this 5 minutes, y'all. We've been in this for a long time. It's going to take a little elbow grease to get us out of subjugation. But we're supposed to be there for each other. Back in the day, like at least in movies, when they talk about Malcolm X, they talk about, what's the other one? Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, how subjugated the women were at the time. They ain't had no voice. They were Muslims and Christians. And, they made sure they showed up to church and had the beautiful little outfits on with the big hats where nobody could see. All ego, all arrogance, emotions, and sensitivity. So now you have all the elders today. Where they at? I'll let them know where they at. I'll tell you where they at. Nursing homes. Because not only are they hitting you schools and through the social media, they're hitting you through the medical field. And you don't see it coming. You're deferring to men to tell you what's wrong with you, how you're going to learn, what you're going to eat. That's patriarchy. Mothers didn't need that. When your children were sick, you took your butt right out back, clipped the plant, put it in tea, fed your children, and they were fine. Why do they need vaccinations today? Man's law. Patriarchy. Why are we sitting here getting vaccinations thinking that we're curing ourselves of some type of ailment? When did we just literally say, screw you, mom? Creator, divine, the power, the earth, nature. Nature don't need you, you need it. Without nature, you wouldn't have any food or water or an earth to live on. You wouldn't have any of those things. So why are you being so disrespectful to nature? Right? And a lot of the ailments that we're going through is because we're being attacked through all of these different departments. Can't think because you are medicated or the air is polluted. You're trying your best to eat better, to take vitamins, and it still ain't enough. Because you have to let go of Rome and the things that came with it, the patriarchy, and you got to go back to mother's law. You got to start loving yourself. Getting in the mirror and saying, I love you, YeSharon. I say it all the time. I have a picture of me right in front of my computer. And I look up at myself all the time. When I want to beat myself up, when I want to cry, I have people that I can lean on today to cry when I am in a low place. But back in the day, we didn't have to look up in a mirror. We had the matriarchy. During our menstrual, it wasn't a negative time. It was your most spiritually connected time. That's one of the books, I can't think of the name that I'm reading, that's talking specifically about your womb as well as your menstruation. How it's tied to the moon cycle. That 28 day, they say it's 28 days, but I don't think it's 28 days, y'all. Because I track it. Your moon, when you're out of alignment, when you are not, your cycle is not in harmony with the moon. That means you better get in harmony with the moon. Things grow during the moon, the mother, at night. During the day, they just perking up. It's like they're waking up. Like at nighttime, they growing. During the day, they're like, hi, what's going on? Wait a minute, it's too sunny. And it comes in on itself. If you take the time and you really pay attention to the world, and you pay attention, more importantly, to Mother Nature, what starts any growth? A seed. Mothers, you have all the seeds already in your womb, all of them. You had them when you were born. So just imagine when you were in your mom's belly, how many seeds y'all had together to create and beautify the land. And what does the Circle 7 say? A seed cannot grow unless it is planted in healthy soil. So mothers, you have to get your vessels purified. In our culture, which is based in astrology, we didn't just have children randomly just because, oh, I like this guy and I'm going to date him. And, we're going to be so unprepared and just love on each other. And then, boop, here go baby. No, we didn't do that. We had clan houses, y'all. We created children based on the needs of the community, right? So, Clock of Destiny gives you a little bit of idea as it relates to a harmonious relationship. I'm fire. Y'all know, everybody knows YeSharon's fire. She will make you cry, and then 5 minutes later, make you laugh. I have that capabilities, just like you have those capabilities. But I'm fire. I don't belong with earth, and I don't belong with water. I belong with air. Because fire and air is a harmonious mixture. Now, society today said, oh, you can date whoever you want. Let them be this, let them be that. You can change your sex. You can do whatever you want. The skies is the limit. We're going to keep distracting you so you don't figure out we taking everything from you. Not only your land, your children, your DNA, everything. When we going to get it together? When we going to sit here and start making excuses? And when are all the mothers going to come together and be like, yeah, I have my moments where I just need to think. I need to feel. I have my moments. It's called knowing what your energies are and utilizing yourself and knowing your astrology, your strengths and your weaknesses. Astrology talks about what you suffer with, what you're awesome at, right? And they can flip any moment based on you and your energy. As well as it tells you what type of child you are is harmonious in your home so you don't have such unruliness. So because, again, we went to patriarchy, we left all that aside. And I've heard so many people tell me, well, my Christian belief system talks about astrology as demonic. Well, of course, when I want a people to go away from their defense, because your culture is your defense from being brainwashed. So if you go out, your culture protects you from any and everything. You will get, like, if a drought is coming, right? Because the earth is just like you. It needs a break sometimes. Sometimes we would navigate. We would literally go from one part of the planet to another part of the planet to see. We didn't stay in no one centralized location. We moved. We traveled to different parts of the land, right? So when the earth needs to purge itself, it does it. It's natural. When there's too much chaos, the earth has to have a purging session. Like, all right, these people over here on this type, I don't know what. I just need to get. It's like a pimple on my face. I gotta squeeze it out. That's what Mother Earth. Just think of Mother Earth as a big old Asiatic head. So much stuff on it, doing stuff. Like, I'm itching over here because all these people over here, and I'm going to scratch them out. And then all of a sudden, you gone. Like, overstand, that's what's really nature's law is. All these storms is mom trying to realign herself. She loves you. It's your job. We're supposed to be doing all of that. We're supposed to know when seed planting season is through that sphere, those 4 cycles. And in a lot of the research that I've been doing, it's a little different than what you think it is. We talk about 365. Where we get 365 from? Even Kemet / Egyptian Egyptian history tells you that it's 13 cycles. I think it's 1330. Is it 1330 or 1328? So if y'all times 13 by 28, Islam, I hear you, babe.
All right, good. All right. Yes, go. Continue.
If y'all times 13 by 28, isn't that like 366 or something like that? I don't have a calculator. Well, do I have a calculator in front of me? I might.
3.
Because I've been comparing.
No, it's not.
Yeah, I've been comparing the different calendars because I've never believed what people tell me. I've always been interested. Yes, 13 cycles, 28-day cycles based on the lunar moon is 364 days. Yeah, so we got 13, and that's roughly, right? So we got 13 cycles. Why we only got 12? And why they're broken up with 30, 31, and then 28 or 29. They're trying to get you off your own frequency.
Right. The Chichen Itza, the pyramid in Chichen Itza has 364 steps, and then the top one is 350, makes it 365. Mm-hmm. The step pyramid's 364.
It's long.
Yes.
It's history all over the planet that's trying to get you back into your frequency, all over the planet. But we ignoring all of that because on TV, it said this. I've been doing plots of calendars, and then if you look at your calendar, what are the geographic locations? Latitude, longitude, right? It shows you how to plot where you at, navigation. And our children would be so interested in this information if they were getting it in school. And where does mothers and fathers come in? Going to until we get some of the things that we need for ourselves, because there are Moroccan schools. There are Moroccan schools that are out there that you can put your children in to give them a chance, to give them a fighting chance to dismiss a lot of this social engineering. Because if you put them in a regular school, but you teach them at home, well, they're still being subjected because they're going to corporate schools that is teaching them lies. Why are we allowing that today, Moors, for our children to go to school and learn lies? Why are we still doing that? That curriculum that they're being subjected to. Because mothers and fathers are not demanding the change from within. We are under a republic, right? Maybe. I don't know. So we got to take control and realize it's not going to be easy because we've been sitting as consumers for such a long time. It's going to take time for you to get your energy right. It's going to take time for you to realize that you can do it. And the only way you're going to realize you can do it is to actually start somewhere. And stop fighting each other. Stop enjoying lower self vibrating. Stop lying. I say, if you're not on love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and I diligently stay there, what is the opposite of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice? Does anybody know what the opposite of that is? I'm sitting here acting like I'm in class. Does anybody know what the opposite of that is?
Well, I have a question. What are you doing currently to or have you thought about facilitating a woman's elevation, a woman's matriarchal study group, or woman matriarchal study group or body?
Okay. I started one way back
or...
I started a woman's lib. It was a woman's lib where it was called Tea with Ruth. And I wanted to reestablish that, but I have to kind of put it in perspective because it takes mothers to want it, right? And then we also started a mother's circle. And on the government website, the MoorishaMericanConflict.org government website, we have a calendar for mothers to join a circle, right? I haven't really been putting a lot of energy in it only because I'm doing so many things on my end as it relates to this government to get not only awareness, to get training modules. So Moors have a platform, have a voice, and have a community to bridge off of, because Facebook is not the place for our stuff. We've established through our government the moretomores.com platform for a social networking site for Moors by Moors to help Moors to come and establish their independence outside of that social platform. Because one, you should be able to post what you want. It's freedom of speech, man. They can post all the lies and the garbage that they post about history, about government, about what's really going on. So that's one of the platforms. And within that Moors to Moors platform, which is www.moors.com. On that platform, we also have an academy that I'm developing. So on that platform, we teach Moors civics. We teach Moors there's a secure transactions class, so people know what's going on. You can't defend yourself if you don't know what you're doing and just doing a boilerplate, a template. On the government website, we have basic templates for Moors to start not exercising their sovereignty, exercising their authority, making claims against this fraud, right? A lot of it was inspired by elders such as Taj Tariq Bey, Queen Valahara. I mean, the list can go on and on. I just don't want to butcher anybody's appellations up by saying much, much more than that. If we would do the things that we need to do for our children and for each other, we would be able to dismiss this, right? I was like, so now Moors all over the country are putting in these boilerplate affidavits, but they can't stand on the information that they're submitting. They don't know what's really going on because they've never read the so-called fraudulent contract. And they're not even trying to jump into platforms in order to gain that knowledge. I get calls all day. And when I get those calls that are so basic, like, just basic, how do you fill out an SS5 form? Or how do you declare nationality? Well, have you been to the government site? We are each other's mothers as it relates to the matriarchy and each other's sons. All the men are sons and brothers and sisters. We all owe each other. But at the same time, y'all need to sit down and start researching and realizing I have only gotten today where I am because I sat down and researched. And I watched podcasts and I went on training modules. I did a lot of due diligence. And I still had things happen to me that ought not have happened because I successfully prepared, as many of you out there are doing. We're getting a lot of kickback. We're getting a lot of negative kickback from this colonialism. Now we got to realize, well, what are we doing that's not alleviating that? Because when we stand on our nationality and we challenge jurisdiction, the law says it has to be proven and it has to be valid. Well, why are they still being able to do the things that they're still doing? Even if we put our affidavits and documentations on the records in these fraudulent tribunals. I know, I ain't gonna talk about it yet till I get certain things established as it relates to moving forward. So the things that we were doing 5 years ago, we ain't gonna have to do in 5 years. Everything is a springboard to the next phase. Because what we're having to do, a lot of the things that we're having to do is because our people are coming from a negative, ignorant place. And I don't care if you got a GED, a bachelor's, a master's, your doctorate, or you even got a Pulitzer, one of those bigger accomplishments. You're still ignorant.
Pulitzer. You get Pulitzer.
Pulitzer, yes, Pulitzer. You're still ignorant. Because when I ask anybody, I was downtown Philadelphia a couple of days ago. No, it was like a couple of weeks ago. And I was talking to an Asiatic son. He called himself a federal agent. I was like, you're a security guard. What are you talking about? You're sitting here checking bags. What do you mean? So anyway, I don't like to insult my people. And I said that to myself. But the first thing I asked him was 2 sons there, Asiatic sons there. I said, what's your status? And this is how I start most conversations when talking to people. If I even decide to have a conversation, because it can be exhausting talking to somebody who really, really don't know anything. And when I ask them that question, they are so scared to say black, even though that's the first thing that comes to their mind. And I'm happy that they're scared to say that, because before it was automatic. I'm a black man. But for the most part, when you ask them that question, they do not know. They don't know. And whose fault is that? Mom's fault. Mom's supposed to know who she is. How the heck son gonna know who he is if mom didn't teach him, didn't lay down the law? Mothers are birthing children without laying down any law, so they are subject to any and all influences. So the return of the matriarch is mothers taking responsibility, us coming together, starting platforms on how we're going to change within our community. But I think it has to be locally, in my opinion. But it can start virtually until people can establish at least the confidence to go out within their own communities to start establishing these, because women organizations have to be started and established locally. Now the question would be, well, would it just be a Moorish organization, or would it be a Moorish as well as black organization? But then at the same time, if it's not just a Moorish organization and you add Asiatics who have not reconciled the fact that they don't have a status, what is the law that is going to be handed down? So it's going to be a situation where you're going to have to figure it out. When I started doing anything, because I started with one YouTube friend, and that was my son. One. And all I did was start by doing videos, y'all. Everything starts grassroots. And then I started going to the library and doing live broadcasts. Because I figured if you don't have the Moors within your own community to not only inspire, but inspire you got to reach out farther. Right? because there's a you in every community looking for you. Right?
All right, good point.
Starting Islam.
Good point. Now, and I'm going to going back to the great cosmic mother, rediscovering the religion of the earth. I'm going to read some of the table of content, and I want you to talk on some of the points. All right, we have part 1, women's early culture beginnings. The first sex. In the beginning, we were all created female.
Absolutely.
Marx and the matriarchy.
I was about to go there, Abdullah. I
The
was about to sideswipe like
black woman. Women as culture creators. The first speech. Part 2. Women's early religion. The first mother. The organic religion of early women. Female cosmology. The creation of the universe. The cosmic serpent. The womb, the world egg, yin yang. The Ganatrios, great mother. Mysteries of the throne, the cave, and the Biotech. The cult of the dead.
Abdullah, you're going in and out really
the
bad.
Mother of wild animals and the dance. Part 3. So before I go into part 3, let's address some what's in what I've read for part 1. These are the titles of the chapters. All right, the book is separated. It's in 4 parts. 4 parts, and part 1 is woman's early culture, the beginnings. Part 2, woman's early religion. Part 3, woman's culture and religion in the Neolithic times. Part 4, patriarchal culture and religion. So let's go. I want you to talk on woman's early religion. Let's get to woman's early religion and how and these different women's circles that you were talking about. You can't hear me?
You were going in and out. Can I be heard?
You can't hear me.
Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
She can't hear me.
I can't. I mean, you're going in and out.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
This one, she can't hear me.
Can he? Am I being heard?
I'm not sure. So that's why.
I don't know. I don't know. Am I being heard? I don't know.
But we got. Can you hear me?
I hear you. Huh?
There, but he's breaking up.
Yeah. Oh, you hear him?
Mhm.
Okay, good.
Yeah, but he's breaking up.
Abdullah, you're breaking up. I don't even know how to tell him that he's breaking up.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
It's,
Can you hear me? I don't know.
know.
No, I cannot see you. You got up out the chair.
Just go.
Just call until we keep going.
Abdullah's calling me. Hold on.
Just continue talking.
I heard you. Okay.
Continue talking.
Okay. Islam. A lot of the things that you were saying, I did not hear. But one of the things that I did hear was the early motherhood or early matriarchy did not have any sons, where there was a time upon the land that only women, wombans, were created. That's true, as well as the realities are, well, why did we start having sons? Some history speaks to the fact that we wanted someone to love us back. Others talk about it being the downfall of humanity because the realities are all men, all males, while they're in the womb for at least the first 5 weeks, is female. What happens that changes the male to a female or a female to a male? And what are they lacking that is causing that? And was it intended by us in the beginning? That's information I can't explain. I think we will ultimately come to that realization going forward. But during that mother time, let's say, where it was only feminine energy on the planet, there was never any war. This is what it said. This is what the history pretty much tries to say, is that we didn't war against each other. It was only harmony and bliss. And I think one of the shows that I watched was actually on Crumb TV, where when God was with the Black Woman is God. I think the original author of Crumb TV, I can't remember his appellation, did a video. I watched that whole video, and I was completely this was in the beginning of a lot of my research, which is where which took me down the path of really examining culture, not only examining culture, where women came from, and validating a lot of that information. Also, what it tells you is how you know your mother, you come from your mother, and you really can't validate your father a lot of times. And that is just a modern term that we never necessarily used back in the day when we were in control of our own faculties in our own empires. We didn't really call the men in our village fathers. We didn't call them that. That's a new term. We accepted that with patriarchy. We've accepted that with colonialism, right? So now you got mothers and sons warring. So life before sons was supposed to be blissful. It was supposed to be harmonious. Now, we can't sit here and say, okay, because now all of a sudden we having sons, we having all these wars. No, because the sons still come from mom. So how did mom lose her nobility in her spirituality, in her alignment through nature's law? When did she lose it, and why did she lose it? Why did women start creating sons and using them to fight each other? Because that's what was happening when mothers were having sons and all of a sudden they were fighting each other. What happened? That's stuff that we need to research, and that should definitely be in our curriculums within our schools, so we can understand why we are in a condition, in the state that we are currently in. Because knowing how we got here, we will be able to defend ourselves to never come here again, if that makes sense. So I guess like I said, a lot of the things that you were saying were cutting off. So I really did not get the gist of the things that you were, the points you were making. All I heard in between each and other word, every other word, was the when the world only created women. So that just give, and then we kind of lost. Sons will say, or patriarchy will say, we lost that ability, which is why we need to have intercourse with the male species in order to conceive. I disagree. I think it is the love for the man that we are with that inspires us to want to produce life. That's what I think. As well as overstand, man is mine. If you've ever read the Hermetic Principles, I think the first one or the second one is man is mine, right? So you are what you think you are. So if you think you're ugly, you're ugly. If you think you're evil, you're evil. If you think you are love, you're love. Everything starts in the mind. So we need to deprogram ourselves from thinking that we hate ourselves, that we hate each other, because that was social engineered based on society's idea of beauty. And let's just put the proper labor on it. Colonialism's idea of beauty. They have to show someone who is complete opposite of the indigenous population to destabilize the woman's consciousness to know that she is beautiful, right? So that's why you'll see, back in the day, at least like 5 years ago, or at least even like 3 years ago, you wouldn't see Asiatic women in movies that represent the beauty of our communities. You would see women that look kind of rough. And I loosely say that because all of our women are beautiful, but they're representing a specific type of woman to not only make the women feel less than, but also to make the men jump to other nations, right? So if you put on TV that the Albion woman or any other national woman, which is more so Albions, is beautiful, well, now all your sons is going to start dating Albions. Right? And what happens? That's going to destabilize community. That's going to destabilize our own communities. Whereas though now, instead of us having sons to defend ourselves as well as to secure us, which we don't necessarily have today in the bulk. Okay? Most Asiatic communities are dealing with the violations that they are, if they are capable of admitting it, looking at violence from within. And I can use my own personal experience as it relates to my upbringing. I was the last of 13 children. I was the last born. I have a twin, but I was the last born, and I suffered in my mother's home violence, sexual abuse, and neglect. I suffered that. I think that was normal in our communities. I think that was engineered to get us to be so stoked in emotions and ego and what was the other ones? It kept us in a state of trauma. So we can sit here and complain about these Albions and colonialism all we want. We are fighting each other. We're fighting each other for what? There's enough to go around. There's enough finances to go around. There's enough land to go around. There's enough women and men to go around. We don't got to fight each other. But they're putting you in a defensive position because of what we're subjecting our children and each other to in these movies. So now you think back in the day, they used to show all these Albion women and everybody wanted to be with an Albion woman and then you saw it in your own communities, all the Asiatic sons with Albions. And then the women, it took a minute for the Asiatic women to start jumping, let's say the national line or jumping the line. But at the same time, they didn't do it so eagerly. They weren't so eager to do it because they loved themselves a little bit more, I would say. But at the same time, when you think of the sons, if you have nothing, you are going to jump to a nation that has something. If all you're looking forward to is nothing in your own communities because it's your own people robbing and stealing from you, you're going to move outside of the community. And you're going to do that to save not only yourself, but your children. But then you're going to create children that don't fit in with their own people and that are and that will literally adopt that other culture, that other way of life, let's say. So we have this kind of, I would say, damned if you do, damned if you don't type of mentality. If you stay in the community, you're gonna die. This is what most people do. You stay in the community, you're gonna die. No, you're not. It ain't that systemic as the way you think it is. I was like, but we are a creature of our communities. So it's our responsibility to get them right and to get them together. Am I the only one on this platform? I think I'm talking about myself now.
Peace, Islam.
Oh,
hear
it's
me?
live. It's live. I thought you left me here.
Live and direct.
I can't see your face. I'm like the only face on. There we go. There we
All
go.
right, live and
You're
direct.
Islam. I'm sitting here
Wow.
starting to sweat like he doing and left me to dry.
Hey, nah, technical difficulties. There's some difficulties ahead.
Absolutely. We got it. We gonna tweak it all. It is what it is. This is the first real Moroccan platform where Moors can come together. I definitely thank you for creating it and establishing it. I'm at the studio, Vibe 609 Radio with Consul James King L down here. He's over there off the side watching.
I'm gonna buy some clarity. This is Moroccan Post on Crumb TV. The main platform is Crumb TV.
Crumb TV.
Yeah, Crumb, actually built the platform along with other help back in 2018. Okay. All right, but then we came on, the Moroccan Post came on his platform. So the platform is Crumb TV. We're Moroccan Post on Crumb TV.
Okay.
We want to definitely give, we want to tip our fez and unwrap our turban to Brother Crumb for allowing Moroccan Post to enter onto his platform, as he has other body politics and other entities on his platform.
Islam.
That's going to provide clarity for that.
I love it. I love it. And I'm at the 609 Vibe 609 radio station down in Pleasantville, New Jersey. Right. It just opened up its doors literally a couple of weeks ago. It's still got we're still doing some work down here. It's going to have an office for Moorish nationality as well as a studio. It's going to have an awesome studio where we're going to be starting to do actual radio shows.
All right, good.
To come out into the community. I have volunteered to do a 12 o'clock lunch hour question and answering with YeSharon. I don't know what it's going to be called eventually, but we'll figure it out. This is kind of like my precursor to doing that, but it's to give power to mothers to start inspiring women to be a part of the problem. I mean, a part of the solution and not a part of the problem, and make it seem like it's everybody else's responsibility. And I hate when people sit here and talk about politicians and the current state of things within their community, but they don't get involved. Our job is to get involved. They're taking care of our children. They're creating curriculums. They have them if your children are in a schooling system, they have them 8 hours a day. You should have some say as it relates to what they're learning. And I think we're in the position today to command they teach about Moorish science, to demand they teach the true science and the true history, true science. I mean, really true science, astrology, those things that accent the people that are the inhabitants, the actual indigenous people of the land. Because like if we go back to the General Orders letter, the United States Service Corporation was here to provide stipulated services to the people. Okay, well, we should be able to dictate what type of services we want and patronize those services that we would like, and kind of stop participating in things that subjugate our children. Back in the day when we were in school, we had home economics, so you learned how to cook if you didn't learn it at home. We had music, so if you had that, as well as art, as well as sewing, that was part of home economics. Home economics was cooking and sewing. So you learn basic skills as well as woodshop. They don't have any of that in school today. All they have is nothingness. I know this because I talk to my 18-year-old son and we have these conversations. So we're sending our children, mothers are sending their children to these schools. And then when they get out, what opportunities do we have for our own children in our own communities? What opportunities do they have? What mentorship programs are they in? Why don't we have construction buildings, real estate buildings, as well as schooling buildings too, when they come out of high school, if they don't want to go to secondary or colleges, because everybody don't need to go there. It ain't necessary for everybody. Some people want to be electricians. We got people who have these skill sets but are working in corporate America, but can't mentor the youth in the community. So you can't sit here and complain about the sons and daughters in the community running around in riffraffs, but you have provided them with nothing to keep them occupied, to keep them out the streets, to keep them out the gangs. We ain't provide. When I was growing up, I was just talking about this the other day. When I was growing up in my community, I had the best childhood. I'm gonna be honest. I might have been dealing with some crazy stuff inside my mom's home with my brothers and the communities. Like, I was bullied like crazy. I used to run from everybody. They like, Sharon's just a runner. I'm like, yeah, whatever. Am I supposed to stay there and get violated? Like, what am I supposed to do? Anyway, all that being said, the community was together. Everybody supported each other. You had community events. You had daycare centers where while the parents were at work, the children went to daycare centers. Food was provided for them. They didn't have to pay for this, y'all. They didn't have to pay for this. It was a community benefit. You had different activities within the community. What happened? When did that stop existing? When did you stop knowing who your neighbors are? We didn't have Albions in our neighborhoods back then. We didn't have foreigners in our neighborhoods back then. I was on moorestomores.com a couple of weeks ago, and the Moore was like, why don't we just go buy some land and kind of just start moving it back into that self community? Because they don't want us in their communities, even though you on our land, you don't have any communities. Let's be real with it. How you got a community on our land? Does that make sense? How is everybody else from every place else living better than us? And their livelihoods is based on our land, our wealth, our resources, and us as chattel property. Why you got to sit here and beg for Social Security? Why you got to sit here and beg for disability? Why you got to sit here and beg for food stamps or cash assistance? Why you got to beg for any of these things when it's being funded by all the commerce going on your land? Back in the day, you could go into a supermarket. If you didn't have the money, they gave you credit. Not you having to file an application and waiting to get accepted. They let you go out the store with the bread, the milk, and the eggs. When did the trust and the love for one another die? And what do we got to do to get it back? That's the question.
Let's address that. Let's address that. What do we have to do to get it back? All right.
Love,
now,
truth, peace.
We need to facilitate a national Moorish intergovernmental alliance, a national Moorish governing body, among the various Moorish body politics, so that we can address and forming a provisional government. A provisional government is a temporary government. Would be for a 1 or 2 year period. And this will be outlined whereby we can address in a provisional government the atrocities, crime against humanity, mass denationalization, colonization, and the international platform. We must reach that. We must be able to address the mass denationalization of crime against humanity. We must be able to begin the process of recovery our lost Moorish sovereignty in this provisional government. And the provisional government lead to the way to a plebiscite, because we must be in harmony with political legitimacy as the sovereignty belongs to the people. We need the consent of the people.
Islam.
This can be done.
I think the treaties outline exactly how we're supposed to do that. The question is, we have an issue in the Moroccan community. That issue is competency. There's a lot of people that talk a lot of stuff, y'all. There's a lot of Moors out there talking a lot of stuff, y'all. I'm not about talk. I'm about action. I'm about getting it done, right? I spend my days in front of my computer doing multitudes of things, talking on the phone. I was like, we get it done by following the treaties as it relates to how it's supposed to be established. Well, in order to follow the treaties, you got to read them and know what they say. And in order to read them and know what to say, you got to have some competencies in order to dissect what it is it is saying, because a lot of people act as if they can read and they can't interpret anything that they're reading. So you can't read etymologically. That's on you, Abdullah, right? So we need, I am in favor of any and all unity across the board. If you're having success in one part of the continent, that's not success to me, because it's supposed to happen all across the nation, all across the continent. So if you're in little, let's just say Little Italy, if Rome and all these other areas is burning, it's only a matter of time you gonna burn. If I'm still a slave and you free, does that make sense? We ain't in Wakanda. We're supposed to care about each other in the so Holy Circle 7 Quran tells we are the stewards of one another. So if I know, you automatically know, because if I know, I'm gonna tell you. And I ain't gonna charge you to give you that information. Because if you fall, I fall. That's how it works in an empire. You are only as strong as your weakest link. And we got to look at ourselves on this continent and every other continent as one people of a bunch of different tribes, but one people. And I would call it the national Moroccan governing body. We can call it whatever we want to call it, but we need to convene it. And we need to do it in regards to what you were referring to, bring an accusation against the so-called United States Service Corporation, because they acting rogue, even way more rogue. You bring up treaty, you bring up nationality, you bring up challenge and jurisdiction. Come on, all those
all right. It wouldn't start with you bringing. It wouldn't start with our addressing United States.
I know what you're referring. Let me clarify what I was saying. I only brought that up as an example, but I wanted to go back, because there was an article that was posted. There was an article posted on social media that was talking about reparations, and it laid out the atrocities that our people have been dealing with under the so-called United States Service Corporation. They've already did the blueprint. All we got to do is read it and apply it to our sovereignty as Moors.
All right.
And not label ourselves as Negro, colored, Black, and African American, because they don't have a status for which anybody has to acknowledge them, because they don't even acknowledge their own selves.
Right. Let me explain. When I said it wouldn't start with our addressing United States, it would start with our Spain. We talk about colonization, so we wouldn't start with the United States in addressing colonization.
Should we start with the current state of things?
No, Spain, Portugal, Inter Terra Divina, Philip, Pope Alexander VI. Pope Alexander, the Inter Terra Divina, 1493, authorizing Spain and Portugal to colonize our land, North, Central, South America.
So
I'm saying I wouldn't start with the United States. United States is a child of Great Britain.
Okay, but
we will bring United States in the claim. But I'm saying, as far as starting, you would have to go. We would have to address Inter Terra Divina, which is the doctrine of discovery, which is they're making the claim.
Is that still law today, though?
It has not. It is still occupational that they're using that claim. Doctrine of discovery, Inter Terra Divina, today, even in the international arena, to
explain
make
what it means. Explain a little bit, because everybody on this platform don't know what you're talking about.
All right,
just give a brief explanation as to relates to what that is and who that is.
You have what's called the doctrine of discovery, the claim of the land based on discovery. In the international law, they can Google this. Google acquisition of territory. That's those who are listening. Acquisition of territory in international law. This is the best way to explain it. When you Google acquisition of territory, international law, you'll see different YouTube sites, different sites. You'll see also referring to books on international law. And one of the in international in acquisition of territory, you'll see conquest, subjugation, discovery. Discovery is on the list. Conquest, subjugation, discovery. Those are three main that you'll see in every book, every avenue dealing with acquisition of territory, which means that inter caetera divina is a policy that's embedded in modern international law by way in which the Europeans maintaining the spoils of their conquest. So discovery is one of them. The discovery claim is based in a document called Inter Caetera Divina. Pope Alexander IV, March 4th, 1493. Authorizing Spain and Portugal. Spain and Portugal are two of the occupying sovereigns. I'm going to continue explaining. The Moors in south part of Morocco, what they call South America, have not claimed the land. They have not made the claim to their Moorish consanguinity. None of them have. No Moor has made the claim to their Moorish consanguinity. These are modern states: Mexico, El Salvador, Costa Rica, Brazil. Those are still Spanish and Portuguese occupying zones to this very day. Brazil is not the name of the people. Brazilians are not the name of the people. That's a modern state. That's not a Moorish state. They didn't claim their Moorish pedigree. El Salvador, Dominica, Costa Rica, Mexico, Colombia, Cuba. That's part of those are still Spanish and Portugal zones. So how do you address that? You got to make the claim to the Moorish consanguinity. The claim to the land can only be made through the Moorish consanguinity. Those are modern states. So Spain and Portugal to this very day still have occupational. They don't have consanguinity claim. They have occupational claim because the Moors have not made the claim to the land through their consanguinity. So that is still in play. So to be effective, we need to facilitate through political legitimacy, a intergovernmental alliance among various Moorish bodies politics. And I'm saying it would only be a provisional government because you would need to facilitate a plebiscite among the millions of our people in that 2-year or 3-year period, which would be written down that we would, let me finish, that we will facilitate national, widespread outreach to facilitate a plebiscite. Let me explain the plebiscite. Pleb means people. Cite means vote. So you're talking when a plebiscite means that you would redraft a constitution as a political body. It cannot be a permanent government, be provisional until you facilitate a plebiscite where you have enough, meaning millions of our people, will participate. We don't need millions to facilitate a provisional government because it will be listed as a provisional government, temporary. A time period of 2. This is what I'm doing is I'm articulating political science, political philosophy, and international law all at once. I'm using the principles of political science, political philosophy, and international law. Political legitimacy is key. You must facilitate the process whereby the consent of the people is given. This is why I say it must be political. If you study political science and political philosophy, so I'm giving it so they can Google that. They can go look at political science, political philosophy. The Vital's book. What's his title? Vital's book. Vital's book. Law of Nations. Law of Nations by Vital. Emir Vital. Vattel. Emir Vital. Law of Nations. He was a political philosopher. There's several books on international law. Brownie's book on international law. You have Crawford's book, Creation of State. And Crawford actually finished up Brownie's book. Brownie was Ian Brownlees was he worked in the International Court of Justice for 50 years. He's since transitioned. So we have to elevate our knowledge to international law and political philosophy as well as political science.
But wouldn't the treaties draft how that process is to be started? But you said
no, not the treaties. No.
But
no.
What dictates this process? So you're saying that there is an authority that is supposed to understand we're talking about sovereignty. Why would we have to ask an outside party outside of the treaties to get permission to be a state or a Moroccan?
I didn't say that. I never said that. I never said ask anybody. I didn't say that. Now, let me qualify what I didn't say that. So all right. Where does the authority derive? From the people, Moors, conscious Moors. The authority derives, I'm saying a provisional government, which means a temporary government. It cannot be permanent because you need millions of our people to be conscious. You need a population. A Moorish intergovernmental alliance will be formed among the existing as well as those forming Moorish body politics, 50, 100. Body politics, where they will send their heads, that those heads are elected by the people of that 25, 30, 100 body politic. And you have 40, 50, 60 Moorish body politics that will convene, whereby they will agree to establish a provisional government. And in the provisions, it will outline the facilitation of a permanent government. And we would have to outline the measures whereby we will facilitate a wide open community, millions of our people outreach to facilitate a plebiscite, but as a provisional government among 50 to 60, 70, 80 Moorish body politics. We can address in a 2-year period in the international community crime against humanity, the colonization of land, Spain, Intercartera Divina, Spain, Portugal, France, the Netherlands, Sweden, the child of Great Britain, the United States. We can address as a governing body in a provisional state. I yield.
You said a lot. But at the same time, understand there's a lot of Moroccan, Moorish governments, nation states, organizations that are established on the land right now that are assisting Moors to enlightenment. There are Moors that they're based on my numbering and thought process and what I'm hearing, there's already that. We already have 1 million. We already have 1 million in regards to Moors that know their nationality and claim it and declare that.
All right. Can you email out to me? Can you email it to me? Can you email me the registry? Can you email me the registry?
What would validate me emailing you the registry, though?
No. Right.
How can I give private information of individuals to you?
let me say this. All right, the claim is.
Oh, wait a minute. You didn't let me finish what I was saying. I gave you that number, right? I was like, and it's a multitude of Moorish, like I said, governments, nation states, as well as sovereign declared or through articles of organizations, which is what the government that I represent has done, as well as we have a registry as it relates to who has attached themselves to this government. Now, that being said, the treaty does also outline, and if there is some type of process that dictates how this is to be done, what process? Where is that dictated?
But the treaty would not act. All right, the treaty would not outline that.
I know, because they never thought that people would be operating outside of themselves. No type of nothing was put in there to safeguard from that.
I'm saying, who would dictate that are the Moors, conscious Moors. No, you said, you asked me 3 or 4 times, who would dictate that? Through political legitimacy, the heads of the body, Moorish body power who are elected, the heads who are elected by their body politic of 50, 60, 70, 80, 100, 200, 300, however, they are elected by their body politic and their various local Moorish communities. They are elected. They will ascend and being part of forming a Moorish intergovernmental alliance of 50, 60, 70, 80, whatever Moorish body politics. We would dictate that as a provisional. The treaties don't dictate that. That comes due to consent, the consent of the people. All right. So when I asked you, all right, this is what we do. For those who are listening, in my classes, my etymology classes, I've taught over 1,000 students, and you were one of them. I've taught classes, the Academy of Providence. I've lectured. And one in teaching epistemology, how one knows knowledge. When one makes a claim, I want those who are listening, please ask me questions. Do not take what I say to face value. If I make a claim that something exists, we want to respect that. When someone says, prove it. Once a claim is made and someone in the chat asks to prove it, the first thing we should do is present the documentary evidence. That is fair.
So who said prove what? Somebody said something in the chat.
I told you to prove it to me.
Prove what?
I said send me the list of 1 million. You said it exists. So I asked you to send me the list, and you said your response was
it would take one. Let me validate what I'm saying. One, it would take authority, right? Why would I, like, for the government that I represent and the people that have nationalized through my government, why would I give you that information, Abdullah? Why would why would I need to validate? How would it, and wouldn't that be a conflict of interest as it relates to privacy, because you don't belong to that said government?
You said right? 1 million. You said 1 million exists.
Absolutely, not just based on what I'm saying, but based on what I'm hearing, as well as we can validate that, but it would take those governments that have been established, those heads, to say, okay, I got 100, I got 1,000. How would that be validated to you, Abdullah, whereas though you can get that information because you're not part of any of those heads of state? What would compel them to give you the information?
I'm gonna back off of it. Okay. I asked for proof. You said whatever, and I have to, whatever you say, I'm going to accept. I'm gonna accept whatever you say. I'm gonna accept whatever you say. You said that's what you say. That's what it is.
As you said earlier, a provincial government, let's say, even though there's independent Moroccan nations that have been established, as well as like I said, Moorish governments as well as Moorish organizations, whether or not we think they're legitimate or not, they've been established by the sovereigns of the land. And if the sovereigns of the land can do that of their own free will, then who or any type of international or even, let's say, domestic can undervalue that, especially when they are not sovereign of the land. So now let's say we have those 100 so-called nations and we got 1 million. My still question would remain, how would we give you that information? And what would authorize you to receive it? You understand what I'm saying? Because that would be...
I'm not saying, once again, I'm going to say it again. Whatever you say, I'm going to accept.
Islam.
We got 5 minutes. So we have 5 minutes. So you have any closing remarks you want to make?
The only thing I could say is nationality is the order of the day. Unity, more love, more unity, and more economics is the mission of the government I represent. And I do believe that we need a body politics. And I have been on many platforms saying that unity is what the people, at least the people of this government, are requesting. They want all these Moorish governments to come together, or whether they are incorporated through the Moorish Science Temple of America, whether they are sovereign as the government I represent, whether they are just organizations teaching or institutions of higher learning teaching about nationalities, we all have to come together. Whereas though at that particular time, we all at that conference, after non-disclosure orders are established, so the people's information is not just leaked out there, because it is about the protection of the people. And as a representative of those people, is our responsibility to protect their information that they give us and that they transmit us, because that's what we say that we're going to do as their administrators as it relates to the governments that they establish. I was like, I'm in complete harmony with us coming together and doing those things. And at those conferences or at those committees, we bring our numbers in, and then you would get that information that you're requesting be validated in that closed organization or that closed committee, whereas though we all are there for the right reasons. And then at that particular time, I could say, yes, we can get that information. I was like, but the only thing I want to say is nation building. Nationality is the order of the day. It is our responsibility as matriarchs, as well as sons of the matriarchs, to see that happen.
All right, let me make myself clear, because I've never said, so I have to make myself clear. So I never said or did say personal information. So when I say list,
and what's on the list?
No. All right. Let me say. All right. Let me tell you what I mean then. So, all right. I'm not asking for any personal information for you to send me any personal information. A list of names can be generated. I'm saying a list of names. So I want the audience, because we have people listening, and this is going to be out to several thousand people, so that they are clear on what I am asking. A mere list of names, period. I want to be very clear to articulate that, so I can be abundantly clear, so that what I'm saying is not mistaken. Because I don't want people to say Abdullah Iltli Mosi Bey asked YeSharon for the list of their personal information. No, I want Abdullah Iltli Mosi Bey is asking Sister YeSharon just for a mere list of names. That's all. If they repeat what I'm saying, I want them to repeat that.
Islam.
I just want them to repeat exactly that, what I said.
Islam, and I just want to affirm.
That's what I'm saying. That's because I don't want to be misconstrued as to what I'm saying. All right.
And I want to affirm, because being 25 years accounting in that accounting field, just a list of names is not validation of anything. You would need more information to validate, because anybody can do a list of names and add it up to 1 million. And I'm just saying that as an accountant, to say that validates nothing, even if it comes from me. How can you validate those names are actual people? You would need some more information besides the name. to validate it. Because if I was asking you, I wouldn't just ask for names. I'd be like, well, I need some information to validate that this is actual.
And that's fair. But once again, the claim is made that 1 million exists. 1 million conscious more exists or registry.
Yeah.
Registry, the claim is that
I didn't say
1 million
registry. I didn't say nothing about no registry. I said there's 1 million Moors nationalized. I didn't say they were part of my registry at all.
No, I didn't say that. I didn't say it's part of yours. I'm saying no. I never said that they're part of yours. I'm saying there exists a national registry of 1 million conscious Moors.
Combined, absolutely.
I just want to make sure that because we're going to just do closing mark because we're at 8 o'clock. So we're going to just
peace and love, Moors. I have nothing to say closing.
All right. Thank y'all again for attending Moroccan Post on Crump TV. Thank you. This has been very good. And this is very important because it's important that we do use epistemology, how one knows knowledge, to these just ask questions. That's all. Just ask questions. Question upon question upon question upon question upon question. In fact, I would like to do a class where, and I talked about this in one of my etymology classes in the summer, where we just do a class, 2-hour class of just generating questions about one point. Just question upon question, maybe 100 questions. Just generate 100 questions because we have to just learn how to just think. Just learn how to think. So thank you again for those who are attending. To attend the Moroccan Post on Crump TV, go to mooresandmasonry.org to get my book, Moors and Masonry, Part 1, The Masonic Complex of Square and the Connection of Timekeeping and Measurement, Etymology and Vocabulary. Etymology and Vocabulary is Supplementary 1. Also, the Illuminati and Wish of the Mind and how her moon and Venus rule. All right. I want to again thank Sister YeSharon for joining us. She was very, very enlightening, very illuminating, and for sharing, the wonderful topic, the return of the matriarch. Peace.
Islam.
All right. Go ahead. Continue. Let me finish. So we have on. Go to the Moroccan Post Media, which is the YouTube page. Moroccan Post Media YouTube page. We have a host of videos. We have the Moorish Body Politic Formation classes on there. We also have recorded live Zoom classes, which are held on Wednesdays from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then we'll go starting next month. We'll go every second and fourth Wednesday of the month. All right. So we have that. So we'll see those of you, everybody on. Hopefully, you'll see them on Wednesday, 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The Moorish treaties, protection of Moorish treaties, and the consular relations, protection of Moorish treaties and consular relations. All right.
Am I still live?
Yes, you're still on. You want to say something?
Yes, I did. Yes, I just want to kind of highlight nationality is the order of the day. You can visit the www.moorishamericanconsulate.org and hit on the grid page for nationality. Also, we have the Moors to Moors social networking site for Moors by Moors that also has curriculum training mechanisms built within it. And that is www.MORE2MOORS.com, as well as we'll soon be having live radio shows to help and to assist Moors in nationality. And if they have questions, a question and answering session with YeSharon Akasha El Rose Bay on Vibe 609 Radio. Vibe 609 Radio. Hopefully it'll be in the next couple of weeks. We will be posting it on Facebook. We'll be posting it on YouTube. We'll be posting it on Instagram, as well as Moors to Moors. So Moors, please register for the Moors to Moors platform, and which is a social networking platform to keep us united, keep us together, keep us talking, and keep us raising the Moroccan Empire, Islam. And I want to thank James King L, Consul James King L, who's over there listening, for providing this beautiful setup, as well as an office in his studio, whereas though all of the radio stations, as well as in-person nationalities.
I know him. Tell him I said his mom. I know him. Bring him on. Bring him on.
He knows you. Come over
He
here.
didn't. He I'm mad at you. I'm mad at you.
I said
I'm mad at him. He didn't return my calls. He changed his number. He doesn't like me anymore. Man, 2019.
We're
I haven't spoken to him since 2019.
Here we go,
I
right
haven't
there.
spoken to him since 2019. He just abandoned me. I don't know why. I didn't do anything.
We'll come down to, well, when we start getting on and popping with these radio stations down here at 5609 Radio, we will invite you down and we'll have a 2-hour radio station. Once we get it all up, it'll be on Moors to Moors. It'll be on the government website once we launch it, and it'll also be on Facebook and every other social networking site that Moors are on outside of moorstomores.com.
All right. Peace and love. It's all in love. All in love. Peace.
Peace
Thank
and love.
you.